Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers! Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we find ourselves on the cusp of Disney's big venture into the world of streaming, even courting a war in the process, we thought it'd be nice to stay up to date on the ever-growing catalog and rule on what's a must or bust on Disney Plus. And tonight we're talking about Dragon. It's been in the making for a while, but tonight we're going to be talking about I'm not even gonna tease. I was gonna say we're gonna be talking about Stargirl, but no, forget that. Mando, Chapter 10, The Passenger. Oh yeah, oh my god. So Dragon, this has been a divisive episode. Most people that I've seen kind of, it's Mando, so it's like it's got the high production values. I think there's easily a couple of moments in here that are my favorite moments in the whole show. Overall, though, this definitely doesn't get the wheels turning as much as it does with the first episode of the season. And Dragon, we'll break it down, but there's definitely there was a moment where I thought we were going to go a Better Call Saul route with this episode, and we didn't. And that was kind of disappointing to me. But Dragon, I basically have two things to say to summarize my feelings on this episode, all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thing number one. Thing number two. All right. I'm done. I'm done with striking.
Tika, was a whole lot of nothing. I don't really know what you said with those clips, but
Oh, you couldn't even hear him? Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, it was if I don't really, I got nothing. What was it?
Hold on. Let me actually plug in my headphones. Well, I was just being silly and basically pulling a Family Guy Dragon, just being like, "Hey, look at these two random clips that kind of vaguely associate with this episode." So I pulled the nostalgia critic. I will create a giant legion of spiders, and then also the famous Land Before Time 2 eggs. Okay, totally pointless. All right, so Dragon, what did you think about this?
I like this. Definitely not as much as the first episode, but I mean, I thought it was solid. I liked the whole kind of it's a sci-fi survival story. I mean, I thought the whole survival element of it was really neat. We continue to push the appeal of Mando being, very vulnerable. He's not like he's much like Boba Fett wasn't. He's there's no mystique there. We know this guy.
Mm-hmm.
We root for this guy. This guy's not unkillable. He's very vulnerable, and he gets quite in it this episode. So it also kind of fits into the whole skin of your teeth serial hero nature of kind of what Mando's all about. Very kind of Indiana Jones esque. Very much like kind of like old movie serials. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say it's on my lower rung of Mando episodes, but like I like it a lot more than the first Tatooine episode from season 1, which is pretty. I mean, that's not a terrible episode, but it's pretty definitively my least favorite of the series. So this at least has a lot of stuff going. There's one moment in particular, Dragon, that I geek out for. One moment in particular that to me was almost kind of like the equivalent of like, oh my god, we're seeing the driver's side of the Jawa tank. We'll get there. Claude is in the comments, and he does point out, Dragon, I do think we should take just a moment to address this because I think it is very sad news. Alex Trebek, former host of Jeopardy, has passed away. And Dragon, Alex Trebek, man, I mean, talk about someone who's just been in so many people's lives and just kind of like, through that one show and that one persona, he's just managed to just create such an impact. So, like, we all know who he is, what his mannerisms are, what his cadence is. I mean, And honestly, his fight with his health issues was really kind of inspirational over the past, I don't know, like 5 years or so. He was very public about his health issues. So very, very sad to see Alex Trebek pass away. He will be definitely missed.
For sure. I mean, I was again. We knew his days were a little numbered, given the whole. We've pre-recorded episodes of Jeopardy, and there's like going to be a certain point we're going to run out, and then I'll be just kind of passing it on. But yeah, I mean, today was not it was a sad revelation. Like, oh no, not all this loss these last couple of months. It's been awful.
Yeah, yeah, and of course it's right after the I'm not gonna mix words about it, Dragon. The good news that we got yesterday. Anyone who disagrees with that can screw off. The good news we got yesterday, and it's kind of like bringing us back. It's almost kind of like like bringing us back to the real world a little bit, Dragon. We had our day of celebration, and 2020 has to come and be basically like Newman from Jurassic Park, just like you can't have nice things. So yeah, it is very deflating, very deflating. That's the word I could look for in it, because we all hope that he'd pull through it.
Yeah, it was an optimistic view, and unfortunately, 2020 is not exactly the year for optimism.
Yeah. All right, so Dragon, let's just go ahead and break this episode down. So this episode starts, Dragon, and I am thinking, oh my God, we are going to get a Mando and Baby Yoda stranded in the desert episode, and it's going to be fucking awesome. And Boba Fett's following him, and it's going to end with Boba Fett. And no, Dragon, that's not what we got. Dragon, did you feel that way? Like when we got that first, because I was hyped, man. I was hyped going into that first scene where he's getting ransacked, and it's just like this big standoff. It's rough and gritty. It's a great kind of intense, kind of realistic action set piece to end things off on. And then honestly, Dragon, the next scene, I mean, we'll get into it, we'll break it down, but I think the next scene has some of the biggest contrivances in the show's history.
Hmm. Well, yeah, I actually, for a moment, I kind of forgot that we kind of pulled something a little similar with the first season in that for a moment I was really excited, like, oh boy, yeah, we're really going the serialized route here, where we're still on Tatooine after the
Right,
last
right.
episode. But then I realized, oh yeah, we did that with the first of the season too, when he's still on the planet where he found Baby Yoda, and then they have like the whole the Jawa thing. So that's all the same planet. So it's not that. So I kind of tampered my expectations when I realized, like, oh wait a minute. But I was in the thought process, oh boy, we're still in Tatooine. I did think, hey, maybe we're going to continue the Boba Fett thing, and we didn't. But again, we'll see. Again, I'm comfortable with. Again, I'm hoping we're going to get more Boba Fett, but I'm
Don't
still
you say
comfortable.
you're
Yeah.
comfortable with him never showing up again this season, Dragon. Don't you say it.
No, I'm sure he's going to show up at the end of the season, Tiki. Just the question is, like, are we going to get him like more throughout the
Uh,
season? I'm saying we're going to tee him up big time for next season, which he's going to be a regular player, is my theory. But it's just a question of, like, are we going to stick to that, or are we going to, like, kind of thread the needle a little bit more? Like, he's on his way. He's like, a little bit more, like, progressively maybe getting a few pieces there, because we did show that the Boba Fett armor in the sand, and I get your thought process there. Like, oh boy, he's all this little ambush. I love the ambush, by the way. On the speeder bike. I always love how visceral it is. Like, the string comes out, and like, oh god, he hit the tripwire, and like Baby Yoda's going to tumbling. It's like, oh no. Like, it's all like, on the edge of your seat. And again, what if like Boba Fett just walked out of there, blasted a couple of those guys away, and took his arm, like tried to get his armor back or
That's
something
what I'm
of the
saying,
like.
man.
So
That's what
I
I was queuing myself up for, buddy.
well, optimistically, they have something even better planned that we haven't gotten to yet. So let's just positive think on that one. Anyway, but I like the whole jetpack thing though. Jetpack gag was really funny too. Like, oh well, if he's gonna take the jetpack, obviously Mando, he knows how to use it. It's gonna work in his
Right, right.
favor, which again was really nice scene.
All right, so then we get into the. I don't even know where they are, Dragon. Are they in just the same location that Amy Sedaris is usually hanging out in?
Well, I mean, specifically, they're in like the the cantina. So presumably it's like the same cantina from Star Wars.
Oh, it's so they're in Mos Eisley.
I
All right,
believe that. I'm
got it.
pretty sure that.
Got
I'm
it.
just saying the cantina look. If, at very least, they're on a different cantina on Tatooine. If not, just assumedly like the cantina, which is Mos Eisley, because that's where
Okay,
they're playing Sabak, and it's the same bar and stuff.
we should the giant ant would be a good time to mention that this episode is directed by Peyton Reed.
Yeah, which is okay. So this is twofold. There's a twofold reason this is awesome. One, the Peyton Reed thing, which like one, hey, Peyton Reed's directing this episode, which is cool.
As
Again,
soon as
well,
I saw Peyton Reed's name in the credits, I was like, "Oh, that giant ant makes so much sense now."
I gotta tell you, personally, I really like Peyton Reed as a director. I mean, I really think he's really good for like kind of the cosmic and kind of like the kind of the sci-fi stuff. I think he's a good choice. So this is like an appropriate episode to give him.
Yeah, I thought directing wise, Dragon, I think the directing maybe was this episode's best strength. I'll give it that for sure.
And secondly, the main reason I was geeking out about the giant Doctor Mandible. One, I love
Yeah.
that he was. There's a fun runner in Star Wars where a couple of the weirdest looking guys in the cantina are doctors. Like remember like the pig faced guy from New Hope. Remember like
Yeah, of course,
I
of course.
believe
Dragon Star Wars doesn't let me forget that guy.
believe his name's like Evan, like in some iteration of the character like Doctor Evan or something, Doctor
Uh-huh.
Evans on or something.
And Hondo Babu.
And yes, and Panda Baba. Anyway, but no, but the thing is, of course, I just love that we're using the old toy box analogy here, where again we're playing with kind of the odds and end toys in the Star Wars toy box from the canon. Doctor Mandible, big old nod to deep cut Star Wars, where before we did the '90s version, before we did the special edition, we had odds and ends kind of puppets filling out the place like giant praying mantises and stuff. So this is a wonderful nod to the giant praying mantis with the giant ant guy.
All right, unfortunately, Dragon, this leads into something that I'm kind of considering a little bit of a red flag for the season, which is the fact that Amy Sedaris just happens to have recently talked to someone who knows where another Mandalorian is. To me, that's a little too convenient.
Well,
I
no,
don't
he
know.
asked her to look into it for him. That's why it's not that convenient.
I still think it's a little convenient that she just happened to. What's convenient about it is that she happened to find out about it like 10 minutes ago in the same bar that Mando just walks into. I don't know. Call me a nitpicker, Dragon.
I mean, look, I'll admit it is a little convenient that Mando walks in, he says, "Well, there goes my only lead," and then she comes in with a new lead. I'll give you that. Okay, I'll give you that. but again, you kind of need it for the story. Otherwise, he runs out of like he's looking for the coverts. Where's he gonna
All
find them?
right. So then we get into the namesake of the episode, the passenger. So what do you think of this frog lady?
I think the frog lady turned out awesome, man. I love the practicality of her, and she's again she had like a really nice emotional bit later on, thanks to Zero, the blasted droid from the heist episode last season. So yeah, I thought she herself was really well handled.
Yeah, I thought it was a good character as well, and it does kind of turn the episode into a little bit of an escort mission, if you will. But I do think that of course, Mando is able to relate to someone who's trying to find the last of his kind. I mean that's why he's so attached to Baby Yoda as well. And that's also why I feel like he was so attached to the Tusken Raiders, and to the Jawas as well. I mean that is his character. He is attached to the fringes of society. He's attached to people who are kind of just scraping to make it in this world. Those are his people. So I thought that was a good illustration of Mando's character. And then what else was a good illustration of character that kind of brought to depth a layer of this character that we haven't seen yet, Dragon?
What?
Oh, apparently Baby Yoda is just kind of a psychopathic killer, Dragon.
Okay, now look, in all seriousness, we've established very well, very
He
famously and
winks at the
fondly that.
camera.
All right, look.
I'm not complaining about it, Dragon. What I like about this is, of course, like, all off season, the only thing people have been talking about is like, oh, Baby Yoda, isn't he cute? Isn't he such a meme? And then in this episode, Dragon, we basically get a whole episode kind of punching in this really dark running gag where it's like, Baby Yoda maybe not as adorable and precious as you might think he is, even if he doesn't know what he's doing. You know what I mean?
Okay, it's okay. Here's what it is. So one, we've established very well in the first season that Baby Yoda loves eating frogs.
Oh,
We did. Therefore, I mean, I like that it is dark, but by the same time, it's like, well, there's an excusable. Well, it's frogs, though. I mean, he likes frogs. He likes the way the eggs taste because they're frog eggs, essentially. So basically, Kermit the Frog would not approve of the Mandalorian. We know that.
No.
But
Oh, God.
no, but aside from that, I mean, yeah, you're right. It is a little bit of like, Baby Yoda. It's
But
like
I want to
we
emphasize,
literally.
Dragon, I am not complaining about this. I think that this is an like, I honestly think this is, like, I don't think enough people are talking about the fact that this might be an interesting foreshadow to Baby Yoda potentially being destructive and, maybe not to his own will. You know what I mean? Maybe his power is getting out of hand. I don't know. I'm just speculating on that, but there's something about the way that this was framed where it's like, now he's just being like a cute little rapscallion. Even though, Dragon, I want to emphasize that the episode went out of its way to point out how important each individual egg is. You know what I mean?
Yep, yeah. I mean, I just love how much credibility Baby Yoda has up to the point now where we can get away with like this adorable flagship character eating babies on screen. He's eating babies. That's a baby eating babies, and we're okay
Oh,
with
God.
it. You know?
But like I said, I don't know, Dragon. I like, maybe this is just me kind of like wanting to grasp onto his character as something more than a meme. But I really think they might be going somewhere with that.
I mean, we might. It's possible. I mean, I wonder if there are going to be any ramifications. Like, assuming we are going to Trask next episode, presumably. Like,
Uh-huh.
because we set that up, and I want to say Trask is from the trailers, kind of that seaside kind of planet. So maybe it's not per se Mon Calamar like we speculate. Perhaps that is like the watery place of Trask where they're going to hatch the eggs and everything. It's a guess. So I mean, it would make sense.
And they're
So
like, oh
anyway,
my God, the count's off. Why is the count off?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Perhaps see the father who's waiting there. Like, wait, whoa, hold it. I scout out this place and everything. Here's having like a Marlin from Nemo moment here.
Oh
Says,
God. Oh
whoa.
God.
What happened?
All right. So then, Dragon, that leads to my geek out moment. I love the X-Wing standoff.
Yeah, okay, so one, did you notice who returned?
Yes, I noticed who returned.
Good. I just want to make
Of course
sure.
I did.
Little Trapper Wolf, man. Of course, for the folks like, who is Trapper Wolf? It's Dave Filoni, kids. Man who brought us Clone Wars.
Dragon,
Dave.
this was incredible. This
Yeah.
is one of my favorite sequences in the entire show so far.
This is an Albuquerque verse scene right here. This is.
I mean, it's everything I wanted from a post Return of the Jedi Star Wars story, where it's like, to the people who are living on the outer rims, where the status quo of the Empire was kind of keeping them under wraps. These guys are kind of the bad guys, Dragon. These guys, they're not necessarily like the evil people, but they are the antagonists. And so, Dragon, the moment where I really geeked out was when the X-Wing, when the wings went into formation, and it was like a fucking monster movie.
Okay, now.
Like, oh, God.
Okay, here's what's really great about it too. I just love it. Basically, it's like a traffic stop gone wrong. Essentially, is the idea here. But I love the fact of, I believe, forget Filoni's. Filoni's the other guy. Filoni's the guy who basically gets the wings out. So that's what you were thinking of. That. So the one guy's talking to Mando, and of course, Mando basically he knows if he sets off the ping, it's going to wake the frog lady up, which means she's going to make noise, which is going to alert their position, which obviously happens. And that's like, no, it's like a little hypervac or something. Malfunction. Says, hey, other X-Wing, he switched to channel 2, and of course, the minute he says switch to channel 2, what he's saying, unbeknownst to Mando, is like, hey, we possibly have a runner, which basically that's why he does that. That's why he gets the wings in the chase position.
That wing, that one single wing maneuver, Dragon. I geeked out so hard about it.
I love Mando saying, "Hey, may the force be with you." He's trying to earn some.
No. I'm glad you bring that up, because that's also like another bit of real building that I love. You know what I mean? It's like a political statement that you might just have to say to keep face, but you don't really believe in.
Sure.
I love that sort of world building.
You know what's great? There's like a little fan thing. It shows you, like, again, Dave Filoni and the crew. You know, they basically it shows you why you love Mandalorian. Where apparently the fan thing is that it's always been like, "Hey, may the Force be with you," and of course the people who love Star Wars say, "And with you as well," or something along those lines. And we finally got that in Star Wars, apparently, where it was returned like "and with you as well" after Mando says it. So they finally said it on screen in Star Wars, the whole, like, the return phrase of like "May the Force be with you," the comeback.
Yeah.
All right, so we have an awesome chase scene, which again is very
chase, it is damn good. I mean, Dragon, this is what I'm talking about, where it's like this is still like story wise, it's on the lower tier, but I mean, like in terms of just sheer entertainment value, this is up there. It's up there with the best of them. I mean, I feel like the production values on this show, like season 1 was amazing, but season 2 is like Dragon. It's like another leap. It's like leaping from one console generation to the next console generation. You know, it's oh my god. Like we are just full blown in like Star Wars movie budget territory right here. There is literally no difference.
Now, again, what I really loved about this episode too is there are a lot of great kind of Albuquerque verse for the layman, just kind of your Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad kind of real world touches throughout the episode.
Sure.
And my favorite detail, like plot thing that kind of leads, that kind of is the domino knocks everything over in the episode, is the fact that because they're transporting very sensitive cargo with the eggs and the frog lady, we have this great it's sublight travel, as in no light speed, no hyperdrive, which makes again it means you have to essentially you got to go slow. You can't just like speed up and get out of dodge. So I love that as like that's the thing that causes this whole X-wing chase and everything, because again he has to putter along. You can't just go from point A to point B like that. I just love the risk that's there, and of course it's Murphy's law. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong, and in this chase, big old hole in the hull. And I just love the visual storytelling. Okay, there's a giant hole in the Razor Crest, which is not good, which means, folks, even if you don't know the ins and outs of space travel, you can't seal that hole. You ain't going anywhere. You're in trouble. So, so then we get into kind of the survival thing of it all, which very much echoes a little bit of Better Call Saul last season with
yeah, that and also 3 Days Out, which those two episodes are kind of mirrors of each other anyways, but yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, of course, two phenomenal episodes from both series. But, so you had a hole in the ship.
It's kind of funny how it's like I thought that type of episode would be in the deserts of Tatooine, but instead it's kind of like on a Hoth planet instead.
Yeah, and again, they kind of subvert the whole, like, it's not the Jedi. I don't know. Maybe it is I don't think it's the Jedi crystal planet, but we don't know. I mean, we didn't see crystals there.
Crate,
so point being,
you mean?
No, not Crate. Crate's something else, Tiki. It's the, I forget what the name of it is, but like the one where the Jedis send the Padawans to pick their Kyber crystals for the...
right. I know what you're
the lightsaber. About. That's what we all speculate in the trailer, which probably wasn't this, but I don't know. It's a nice plan. It's cool. Anyway, so
it would have been cool if they would have acknowledged it was Hoth, but whatever.
Right. Well, again, it has more caverns and stuff. Hoth's just kind of like kind of powdery, but I mean, there's a Wampa case, and maybe you're right. I don't know.
Literally, all we saw in Hoth was like the Rebel base was a cave, the Wampa cave. Like, yeah, there's. I'm just saying, Hoth feels like, for as much as we love the Battle of Hoth, we haven't explored Hoth as a planet nearly as much as we could.
That's fair. I mean, again, for all we know, maybe we were on. Until we get that behind like Disney Gal or anything, I guess we won't know if it's Hoth or not. I don't.
Right.
Point being, kind of icy place, but icy place famous not for Wampas, famous the spiders. Spiders,
a giant legion of spiders.
Ah, yes, Arachnus Deficus, the spider.
Oh God. I do think that it was maybe a little bit of a. I'm kind of hovering between missed opportunity to not have a Wampa, and I'm impressed with their restraint of not having a Wampa.
If you're not on Hoth, it's probably not a Wampa. That's probably what the logic is, too. Plus, they want to change it up.
Fair enough.
Like, well, we already seen the Wampa. Let's say, if we're going to do the Wampa, let's say when we actually go to Hoth, like full-blown Hoth, you know?
Right. So that does kind of lead into, oh my God, like, if you have arachnophobia, this episode is hell, Trekken.
Yeah, oh God, yes.
And a lot of it was practical. Like, from what I could tell, it was a decent mix.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, but seriously, these giant apparently these giant spiders they were a deleted idea from Episode 5 from Empire. So you're not far off. That's the thing.
Okay.
These guys were kind of ditched. I want to say they were ditched for inside the worm that swallows the Millennium Falcon. If I'm a betting
Ah,
man,
okay, that makes sense. That makes
instead of
sense.
like the flying things, probably wasn't in the budget or something. If I'm a betting man, I want to say that's the case. But then again, maybe it was on Hoth with the whole ice thing. I don't know. But
Uh-huh.
regardless, Baby Yoda's not eating the one time he relents in eating the frog lady's eggs, he eats the spider eggs, which leads to a lot of trouble.
I
So,
love the reveal, Dragon. It's such a horror movie reveal.
oh yeah. So then we have kind of a nice full circle moment here. The New Republic, they come in for the save, kind of a screw you save, but it's a save all the same.
The only thing I'm bothered by, Dragon, like like it's kind of in the nature of the show and it's serialized cliffhanger storytelling, so I'm not dinging it that much. It's a little convenient that they come in like at just the right second.
I mean, look, you're not wrong, but again, what I like about it too is that, again, it shows you're in the audiences. I mean, you pretty much say, I guess, with the serial thing, but I mean, I love that we're with Mando. It's like I'm wondering as the audience member watches, oh my god, how the heck is Mando going to get out of this?
Right.
And then enters again, so very much cliffhanger serial thing, which again, very authentic too. But then, of course, they is saved by again. They were probably looking for him a little bit. After, I mean, who was that guy we were chasing? We
No,
saw him
I'm
go
sure they
down
were
here.
looking for him. Yeah, so that's why it doesn't bother me completely.
I
But
mean, again, it's justified enough, I guess.
uh,
So
but you're right. It
basically,
is a screw you save because Dragon basically like Jeremy John said it best, where it's pretty much like like I'm not gonna kill you, but I don't have to save you.
right. But yeah, it's it's kind of the old West thing with Mando and that we kind of we've evened our debt here, but we're not going to help you. It's like you've done some good, did some bad, but you did some good. You didn't save that guy though, but you stuck up for him, so you're not going to know that buys you a little save from us. But good luck with your ship. Let's go get some coffee. Let's go get some space coffee. Let's go
Oh
there.
God. Which you can purchase at Oga's Cantina at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. All right.
Yes,
Anyways,
yes. Anyway.
I don't even know if that's true. I don't even know if they serve coffee.
Some it's like a Hoth it's like a Hoth iced coffee or something.
Oh God. All right.
Anyway,
Okay, so then the episode basically ends with Mando, kind of. It's kind of a montage, Dragon. It's kind of like a fix 'em up montage a little bit.
as which again has echoes of episode 2 from last season, where we're fixing it again. We fix up. It's kind of funny how kind of like poetry, Tiki. It rhymes. We're fixing
Well,
up.
I do like that the Razor Crest. Like the funny thing about the Razor Crest is that like I love how in the original Star Wars the Millennium Falcon was kind of like hyped up to be a piece of shit, but the joke is like to us it's still like a badass looking ship, even though in the context of the galaxy it's kind of a piece of shit. Dragon, the Razor Crest, even to us, is a bit of a piece of shit, but it's our piece of shit, you know.
It's Jimmy McGill's esteem. We dig
Right,
it, man.
right,
It's like
right.
we love that crappy car. We do, and that's the thing. This thing is again, it's the old rules of Star Wars. This thing's from the prequels, essentially. That's what
Right.
the ship's from, and again, bringing it back even further past Star Wars. It's like, yeah, this thing is really old. It's really lived in. But I love again, we kind of have that moment from the trailer, kind of explained here, given context. The Razor Crest is limping along after this really exciting adventure, going to Trask.
And then Baby Yoda eats one last egg and fucking full on fourth wall break winks at the camera.
Yep.
All right. I gotta tell you, Dragon. Overall, just talking through this episode, I think I like it a lot better than like my initial impressions were, of course, just the idea of like, oh, it's not following up the Boba Fett thing. Like we're not being. There's no Cara Dune. There's no Moff Gideon. It's like. So I'm still Dragon with only 8 episodes. I am very curious how they're gonna, because there's a lot of balls floating in the air right now with this show and with the story that they're telling. So, while I do think that this is just kind of like rounding out into my final thoughts, so I do think that while this episode is a fantastic standalone episode, it really is. I think it's a lot better than the Tatooine episode. It's like it's night and day. The Tatooine episode to me is still by far the weakest of Mando. But I mean, in terms of story progression, it's I'm not gonna lie, it is a little fillery. It is a little fillery. It's I mean, we get from point A to point B, but like I said, Dragon, the thing that elevates it really is the direction and the world building. And this, I think, might be the best episode yet in terms of the post Return of the Jedi storyline. And I like how we're tying everything together. Because think about it, like last episode we got how Tatooine was was affected by the fall of the Empire. And this episode, we're kind of seeing more so than what we've seen already in the show. We're kind of seeing how Mando himself is dealing with the New Republic. So I love how that. I hope that continues to be a through line in the season. But overall, like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic about this season going forward. I think, at least from a production point of view, it's incredible. Just absolutely, like, looks goddamn better than pretty much any of the Disney Star Wars movies, if I'm being honest. Absolutely looks better than anything that we saw in Rise of Skywalker.
Well, to be fair, Force Awakens looked pretty good.
No, that's what I'm saying. Force Awakens is probably the best look. Yeah, Rise of Skywalker was the weakest looking of them. So,
admittedly, yeah, sure.
But this absolutely looks better than stuff in Rise of Skywalker. Not going to say it's Last Jedi territory yet, because that's genuinely some of the most beautiful Star Wars imagery ever put to celluloid, and you can fight me on that. But all right, I digress. Dragon, final thoughts?
Yeah, final thoughts. Again, I really, I felt the episode again for kind of ultimately what it was, kind of this great kind of out there kind of sci-fi survival tale. Had and we're continuing to lay our story pipe here. We're getting basically this episode. It's not. I don't know if I'd say filler because we are getting Mando from point A to point B, and we're getting into Trask, which it's kind of beginning to the next big set piece. And this feels, even though obviously Favreau is writing the majority, if not all of these, because this season here later on we're going to get some different writers, which I think is going to change from the first season, which is going to be interesting. Basically the directors from last season do these films with writing duty as we get further into it. My point is, it feels very Dave Filoni-esque. Not just, I know he's in the episodes go on this. It feels like something we do in Clone Wars, and that in lieu of filler, we'd have something that kind of gets us from point A to point B in a really exciting and kind of fun way. And again, we're staying very true to kind of the old movie serial kind of homage with this episode. A lot of fun. It's a solid episode. Again, not as good as our premiere. I'll say that much. But again, we're only 2 episodes in, so let's see where it goes.
Yeah.
All
right. Well, folks, that'll do it for us this week as our holster remotes. Till the next installment calls for the draw. Manu a mano. Just Plus and Us.
I do not like this green baby and ham.
When I wake up, first thing I do, eggs, is to look around for something to chew. Exactly. Feeding myself is very, very tricky because, as you see, I'm ridiculously picky.
Bull yolks.
Eggs.